This pattern is called the Diawl Bach. Mostly I've seen this in European fly tying videos, mostly England or Scotland, but I'm seeing it pop up more and more here in the United States. It's a pattern that will work well as a Baetis, Baetis Mayfly nymph pattern. So I've got a nymph hook in my vise, size 14, and I'm just starting the thread right behind the eye of the hook. I'm taking it back. With this pattern, I'm not going to take it all the way to the bend of the hook. I want it to kind of be right in between the point of the hook and the barb of the hook. For the tail, we're going to use a Coq de Leon feather. This is a little bit speckled but brown in color. So I'm going to take these fibers, I'm going to measure them out to be about the length of the shank of the hook. We'll transfer that measure backwards. We'll just get a wrap or two to secure those on top of the shank of the hook. So next we're going to add some red halotinsel. This is going to be small sized. Just take a couple of wraps to get that locked in place. And finally I'm going to just add 2 peacock herl. These are both, they're dyed red. So we're just going to secure them back at the same place as well. Once I have those secured in, I'm just going to start taking somewhat touching wraps. They won't be perfect. It's all going to be covered up. I like to keep those materials in there just so that we have a nice even bulk all the way around. I'll just come in and cut off the butt ends of that Coq de Leon feather fibers. Clean that up. I'm going to add just a dab of super glue on the top of this. I'll just help these herls stay in place as we wrap them. Now I'll just take those 2 peacock herls. We're just going to take touching wraps with these. Try not to hit them on the point of the hook because that's a sure way to get them to shear off. If you can find them, it's good to get the longer ones, because this does have quite a ways to travel, and I prefer not to have to tie in another one part of the way down. So even here I'm just running into the very ends of these, so I've got to be a little bit careful. Take them around that last time. We'll take our thread over the top, lock them in place, take a couple of wraps on the other side, and I'm just going to turn my hook a little bit and come in with my scissors, and we'll just cut off those butt ends. Now I'll just grasp this red halotinsel. I'll take the first wrap kind of right around those tails, and we're just going to take even wraps of this through the peacock herl. And once I get up to the front, we'll just take a wrap over the top of it to secure it in place. Halotinsel can be a little bit slippery, so I usually like to wrap a few wraps back on top of it before I snip it off. Now you'll set this aside because we're going to use this again in just a second. So we're going to turn back to that same Coq de Leon brown feather. We're going to tie these on the underneath side of the hook. So I like to place them just so they're about touching the point of the hook. So these are going to look just about like that. I'm going to go ahead and secure those down, back a little ways, bring them back forward, and then we're going to cut off the excess. So now I'm going to take some goose biots here. These are amber. Just going to pinch 2 of those together. Come in with my scissors. I want to clip them off pretty close to the base. And while I have them still pinched together like that, I'm going to just cut a tiny little bit of the corner of the base on either side. That's going to give this kind of a rounded look to it. You can tie these in together. I tend to screw that up, so I tie them in one at a time. You'll see how the feathers kind of, these biots kind of curve. You want them to curve in towards the hook. I'm going to tie this in to the side of the hook to kind of create little cheeks. So I'm going to hold that biot in place, take a wrap to kind of lock it down on the hook shank here. Kind of adjust it a little, kind of looking like that on that side. I'm going to take the other one, again curved in towards the hook. I just want this to be about the same length as the other one. Just going to hold that in place, take a wrap around it, pull it tight. We'll take a look at that. It's a little bit longer than I want, so I'm going to shorten it up just a hair. And I'm going to come in and try to clip these as close as I can on the butt ends or the point ends. So from here we're just going to kind of clean up the front end with some thread wraps. I'm going to wrap back on to those, give myself a little bit of, maybe a hook eye and a half in length back. And we're going to turn back to this red halotinsel. Secure that right up against the edge. Bring it back to the back end of those biots. I'll bring it forward again. And here I'm going to add just another little dab of super glue right on the top. Just help us wrap this a little bit better. And then I'm just going to take this halotinsel, starting right at the butt ends of those biots, and I'm just going to take kind of overlapping turns, and we're going to create a nice little red head on this. Take our thread and cut that, tie that off. Turn my vise, snip that off. We'll go ahead and whip finish here. We'll remove our thread. Then I'm going to just come in with just the smallest little dab of UV resin. It'll just help that halotinsel pop a little bit. Make sure you get both sides. If you can, turn your hook upside down and get the bottom as well. Just so you have a nice thin coat all the way around. And we'll just go ahead and hit that with our UV light. And there it is, the Diawl Bach. It's a great pattern. Like I said, usually I see this with European tires, but I've seen a lot more North American tires using this as a great Baetis pattern. So grab yourself a hook, throw it in your vise, and give this one a shot.